That's what the spiritual health revolution is about. It's about going deep, deeper than we've gone before, and being okay with ourselves to a whole new level. Because that's what you need to be to go that deep. You need to learn a whole new level of self-acceptance, owning who you are, having a level of kindness and compassion for yourself that one has never had before, for whatever reason.
Today's masterclass is using tools to look ahead into 2023 to see where the opportunities and pitfalls to gain the advantage. But saying that, this can be used any year and is evergreen. Our guest today is my dear friend Kurly Marwaha, an energy strategist for environments using Feng Shui and other ancient tools. She shows people how to maximize their business and home for prosperity, love, and abundance. She clears blocked energies that are keeping people stuck, providing them with success strategies. Part of this includes using powerful ancient Chinese metaphysic tools to forecast movements of economy and other situations. Welcome, Kurly.
Hello, Anita. Thank you for having me back on, and hello to everybody listening.
It's an absolute pleasure, and it's been a pleasure the first time around, so I'm really looking forward to this masterclass today. So can you please explain what Feng Shui is to anyone that is listening that doesn't actually know, please, Kurly?
Yes, of course, I'd love to do that. So, if you're listening and you already know a little bit about Feng Shui, I'd like you to park your knowledge just for a moment and listen to it with baby ears, fresh ears. And so, just wherever you are right now, okay, whether it's at home, at work, wherever it is, in the car, obviously safely, I hope. Just look around you. This is your environment. And just one little thought I want to seed for you in this moment. There is never a time, never a single moment when you are not in the environment. So, my God, the environment is powerful, right? The environment changes from time to time, but most of us, let's be honest, have certain places that we tend to spend a lot of time. They can be our car, they can be our house, our office, if you're in the retail environment, in a particular retail shop or establishment, but there tend to be certain ones we hang out in regularly. So Feng Shui is about the connection between you and your environment. And then we take it a step further beyond understanding, because that's when it gets really exciting. And we say, how can we maximize the environment around us for us specifically, for you as an individual, based on what your goals and needs and desires are, so that the environment isn't just something that you hang out in around you, but it's working for you to get you your goals, to bring out the best you. So in its simplest form, what does that look like? If you're in a really great environment, like I am, I live in a beautiful valley in the mountains where more often than not, the sun is shining, there's lush, clear rivers. Everybody in the area that I live in this little town, smiles all the time. So it's a happy place. So what happens when you're in a good environment? You become a happier person. You become a more creative, innovative person. You make better conversations. You make better relationships. Your negotiations are spot on. You get what you want, right? People want to give you what you want. That's in its simplest form, but obviously it's a lot more complicated than that, and we can be very specific in our goals. So people come to me, Anita, and for those of you listening, with very clear ideas. And if they don't have them, first thing we do is get clear on what is it that you want. In other words, how will you know the feng shui has worked for you? Because you have to see whatever it is you want in front of you, right? Therefore, you need to be clear on what you want. So they can be things to do with money, wealth, income flow. They can be things to do with relationships, whether it be intimate love, family, children, work relationships, and they can be to do with health and well-being as well, because let's face it, the very first currency we deal in is our health and well-being, and if that one isn't flowing, nothing else is going to. Does that answer the question, Anita?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for explaining that in detail. I really appreciate that. And it gives us a good, we just think, oh, the environment is a nice place, this and that. But actually to dig deep like that and understand how it affects us, our health, our well-being, our moods even. It's really good to know. So I'm really excited about our conversation. Using tools to look ahead into 2023, how can we use these tools ongoingly? And is that possible?
Of course it is. We wouldn't be talking otherwise, would we? So thank you for asking such a great question. Very first of all, I'd just like to pick up on the point that you made about digging deep into the environment. One of the things that I do at the start of a consultation is I look at your house or your office building or whatever it is. Sometimes people work in the outdoors even, and we can look at that too. And I do an analysis of what is this building doing to or for these people. And people are always shocked that I can tell them there's been a certain kind of illness or injury, or the money's going in this direction. And they look at me and they think, God, is she psychic? Oh dear. And I look at them and I say very calmly, just as I am about to you now, no, it's science. I use calculations, the same calculations for all of you. And then obviously the results that show up are specific. So 2023 is a very, very important year. But before I talk about 2023, let me just, if I may, Anita, explain to you and to the wonderful listeners, to all of you, why are we talking about a year time when feng shui is about space? This is a really important question, isn't it? There are people listening who could get stuck on that point, and I get it, because the very first time I heard it, I too thought, in a very confused and a little bit irritated way, what the hell has this got to do with that? Now, if you watch the YouTube, you'll see me making faces as I say that. Well, here's the thing. Environment interacts with you, right? So we've already got two aspects of the environment. We've got you and we've got the space physically around you. But there's a third aspect. So there's a triangle, a trinity, a holy trinity, you could say, in feng shui, and that is time. Why is time important? Because if you would again look outside for me, all of you, just for a few moments safely, and just look at the space around you. Now, does that always look exactly the same? If we were to take a picture today, in this moment, would it look exactly the same next week, next month, a year from now? No. Oh, so now we have something here, don't we? Because we don't just have space and people, but both those things, space and people, change, evolve, develop, shift over time.
Absolutely.
So time is an important concept in feng shui. And today we're going to focus on the concept of time. And I hope for all of you listening, I'm bringing something very new in the Feng Shui Masterclass to you today by talking about time. So going back to your question, Anita, 2023 has a label, in Feng Shui, it is the year of the water rabbit. Okay? And it's a really, really, really important year. It's probably the most important year in the last 20 years.
Wow.
That's saying something, isn't it?
Mm.
So just for a second, I want you to think about, because obviously the point of any masterclass is for you to take away stuff that you can do and use immediately. So let's do this right now, in this moment, before we go any further. You too, Anita.
Yes.
I'll do it too. Think about your last 20 years. Think about the journey you've been on as a person, as a wife or husband, partner, as a daughter, a son, a niece, a nephew, a friend, and any other role that you have, for example, professionally. 20 years is a long span of time. A lot can happen. We can change almost out of all recognition, right? Think about all those things that have happened for you, you guys. There's been some fantastic things. There's been some awful things. Some of it has just been about you as an individual. And some of these experiences you've shared with others or with the wider world. So, on that rather note, I do my own sound effects too. It's really, really important and poignant, the Water Year Rabbit 2023, because we are on the cusp this year we're about to change over as a society, as a world, to the next chapter. The page is turning this year. Now, these chapters in time can be looked at in terms of days, weeks, months, but this one is a chapter of 20 years. So 2024 all the way through to 2043. Think for a second how old you'll be or how young you'll be, right? Think about how your children will be and what you have as hopes for them, or for your business, for your own life, for your health and well-being, for any manner of thing in your world. 20 years, right? We are stepping over the threshold into that new chapter for the whole world. That means this shift is happening for the collective. What does this mean? What is this new chapter about? Thank you. So look, I could go into an awful lot of detail about this, but I'm not going to today. Maybe we'll talk about that another time. Okay. Or if you as an individual want to know what the next 20 years is about for you, obviously you can contact me, and that's a very personal look at the energy of time. The last 20 years, a really great and obvious way of looking at this, let's be honest, everything has been about your hand, about being hands-on. We've had handheld devices of every shape and form. Everything was made smaller and smaller and smaller, not just digitally, but otherwise too. And that was part of what that chapter was about. And I'm talking in the past tense because we're about to step out of this. And by the way, if you're one of these people like me, and I hold up my hand, hello, my name is Kurly Marwaha, and I do not like change. Gulp. I don't know if you heard me gulp, but I tried to do it loudly. But it's going to happen, whether we like it or not. So what do we do when we don't like something? We embrace it and we steer it for ourselves. The basic principle of when we don't like something is we somehow, in some way, we are uncertain and we feel out of control, and therefore that makes us feel unsafe, right? So the way to become safe and a little bit certain, or to step towards it, is to choose to embrace it and then to steer that change in one or two or other or more ways. Okay, so this new chapter, it's about new levels of opening and interest into health and well-being. And let's be honest, we can see that happening already, can't we? There seems to be more and more people interested in what does health mean? What does well-being mean? But I want to take this a step further for you, because you could have figured that out for yourselves, right? And you're here for a masterclass. So, look, we've been through the physical health revolution. That's when exercise classes and diets and all this exploded. I would say probably somewhere around about the 60s or something like that, 50s, 60s, right? And then we went into the mental health revolution, I would say. It was a big topic, and people like the British royals suddenly got on board, and it had high profile celebrities saying, yeah, I suffer with depression, or yeah, I struggle to make decisions and, you know, in my day-to-day well-being mentally, right? And that brought it to the forefront, and now suddenly it's a little bit, hopefully a lot more okay to talk about it, and there's a lot out there for mental health. But we're about to shift from that again and go deeper again, because going from physical to mental, that was going deeper within you, right? But now we're about to go deeper still. We're about to go into the spiritual health revolution. And you heard that phrase here first, by the way, folks. So when you hear it bandied about out there, you'll know it was Kurly Whirly that came up with it. If we're going to go into that, what is spirituality? Because let's face it, there are a few folk out there who think spirituality, oh, no, 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 no. And they turn their heads away and their heart sinks and they think, oh, God. Oh, right? And I exaggerate a little, but the truth is, sometimes we all do that to some extent. Even those of us that are already right there in the thick of it, we think, oh my God. No offense to you, the big person up there, right? Spirituality, in my words for you, is basically about going deeper to the essence of you. What makes you tick? Where does your life force come from? What motivates you? What is joy? Because it's different for all of us, right? What makes you go, ah, I feel safe? Or what makes you go, ah, woohoo! I've got the idea of all ideas. I'm going to go with this. It's, you see, in the corporate world, when I used to work in the corporate world, it was called gut instinct. That was a really manly phrase, and therefore it was okay. But whether you call it intuition, gut instinct, the voice inside you, something godly, worldly, religious, nature, whatever word feels okay for you, let's use that for now. That's what the spiritual health revolution is about. It's about going deep, deeper than we've gone before, and being okay with ourselves to a whole new level. Because that's what you need to be to go that deep. You need to learn a whole new level of self-acceptance, owning who you are, having a level of kindness and compassion for yourself that one has never had before, for whatever reason. Moving into spirituality is basically about having greater meaning and purpose in your life. Also, in this next chapter, we're going to see women of maturity or a wise personality coming to the forefront, really making it. So, look, in the last chapter, we had big giants coming up, organizations growing to a level that we never even imagined. Companies like Amazon, which I use, by the way, you know, we can judge them, we can love them, but the point is they provide a service, they've done well. But actually, look around you. Entrepreneurs, individuals are starting to show up rather strongly, right? So there's a big shift there. In the last chapter, we saw young men really thriving, getting to the top quickly. And in this next chapter, we're going to find that it's women of maturity, or what I call a wise personality, because you can be a wise old soul, right, in a young body. But does that mean that men have had it and we should put them out to pasture? No, of course not. Of course not. It just, what it really, really points to is, in the last chapter, the masculine way of operating was what got you forward, got you achieving things. It was about the push factor. It's about results. It's about action taking. It's about pushing through. In this next chapter, it's about nurturing. It's about gentle movement. It's about checking in with yourself and your customers. What do they really want? Are you still in tune with them? It's a bit more of a feminine way of being that, right? If we're going to use labels, it's more about listening as opposed to, it's going to be this way. I've passed decree. And that's what that really means. You can be a woman in that age group or that way of being, or you can be a man who chooses to change the ethos of the company and move to that way of being, that way of talking to your customers, etc. A lot more to this next chapter, but I think I've said an awful lot and hopefully given you a really good idea, right?
Absolutely. That's brilliant. That really is. It lays the foundation for what we're going to talk about. So thank you very much, Curly. That's brilliant. So what is Chinese metaphysics and how can you forecast what's to come?
Chinese metaphysics is the umbrella label for what I do. It's an important word. It's metaphysics, okay? So it's the physics of the meta world. In other words, it's looking at how things operate, but from a spiritual perspective. So when we talk about energy, for example, when I say to people, the energy behind this, or the energy of 2023, we're saying what's the feel, what's the vibe, what's the general atmosphere, how is it flowing, etc. So for example, I am sitting here today talking to you, looking out onto a beautiful view in lovely North Wales in the United Kingdom, and you're all most welcome here, by the way. And I can tell you the feel, the atmosphere in the valley is one of serenity. But there's like a swan, but there's lots of movement going on underneath the water. That's the energy of it all. So when we talk about the energy of a person, the metaphysics, we are talking about what's really going on inside of you. Where is the driver? Where is the engine or the fuel to really get you moving forward? So Chinese metaphysics, the metaphysics that I do, comes from China or from the East. So it's feng shui, I Ching, hexagrams, astrology, feng shui, all of that basically. And there's a lot more words, but that would be throwing jargon in your faces, and I don't want to do that. They can use various of those tools, charts and calculations, to work out exactly what's going on in any point of time energetically, and also, more importantly, how to step into that energy or that flow and get it working for you. So a really great metaphor is a river or a stream. You can step into it or put a boat or kayak onto it, and you can be working really hard and not even be aware that you're going against the flow and the current. And my God, life could be hard and you could feel like you're not getting anywhere. But should you understand the flow or the energy of the water and just flip yourself around, suddenly you're moving at a speed and you can be happy and joyful and there's lots going on, and it's almost like it's no effort at all. And that's what we're talking about here, but in the concept of time.
Oh, that's fabulous. Lovely put, Curly. Absolutely love it. Thank you. What
Thank you.
pitfalls what pitfalls do we need to avoid in 2023, and how do we do that? Do we need to be worried about anything?
Right, so in terms of 2023 and the energy of the year, as a world, as a whole, global nation, we've been through some pretty severe stuff in the past few years. By the way, the things that I'm talking about, they are evergreen. They're specific to 2023, but the concepts themselves, if they're relevant to your goals or what's important in your life, which by the way, they will be to everybody at some point, you can still work with them, because I'm going to go into that level of explanation. So, health. Health is still on the radar. There is still something going on. It's not the same as what it was before, so I won't even use that word, okay, because it is in the past and we don't want to bring it here into the present and the future. So, in this year of 2023, let's think about what is a pitfall. A pitfall is when you are walking along, you don't spot something, and suddenly your ankle slips, you fall into something, a puddle, you slip, right? It's something you didn't see that catches you off guard, and then something negative happens for you, to you, or around you as a result, directly affecting you. That is my definition of a pitfall. Okay. So the purpose of this masterclass is to give you the information what's ahead. We're not talking about a prediction, by the way. We're talking about forecasting. Very different. It's a bit like, the weatherman or woman tells you it's going to rain, the likelihood of rain and how heavy it might be, or sunshine. It's not a prediction. He or she is just telling you there is a strong likelihood of this showing up. You then are in control, because you now see something additional that you wouldn't have otherwise seen, which means you can grab an umbrella, or you can make sure you get your hooded raincoat, or you might decide, you know what, I'm not going to go for that walk this morning as I did yesterday. Instead, I'll go this afternoon because it's going to be sunnier. There's likely to be less rain. Right? It arms you with information that's useful, that you can put into your schedule and your timeline and your world to your benefit. Okay. So health wise, I want you to think about and hear from your heart, not from a place of fear. Okay. Because some of the stuff we've been through is pretty severe and it caused people a lot of fear. You can listen through the fear sensors inside you, or you can listen through the excitement sensors inside you and think, oh, okay. So if that's the pitfall, what's the opportunity? Because when you can see the dip in the pavement or whatever it is in your walk, you then suddenly can get really excited because you can see it, which means you can avoid it. And when you can avoid it, sometimes it presents an opportunity, a bonus that you hadn't otherwise thought of. So where's the bonus opportunity in this? It means that this is the universe saying to all of us, listen, I'm going to flag up your health this year. I'm going to flag up your health this year because we're about to go into a new chapter, and you're going to set yourself up for a super fantastic chapter, because we're going to get your foundations right, your health and well-being. And I'm going to force you to look at that a little bit more powerfully this year by putting your attention onto it, which means you'll then be encouraged and nudged by me, the universe, to maybe develop a few habits or change your way of eating. Listen to your thoughts and what you say to yourself, whatever form or shape it shows up for you, so that you, yes, you listening, and me, and you, Anita,
Yes, absolutely.
we can all have a better next chapter. And remember, it only takes a small change to shift your whole trajectory on life. So let's have a slightly deeper dive into that and think about what that means. It could mean that you decide to go to your GPs or your doctors and have a full physical. Maybe you've never had one. Maybe you've had one 10 years ago. Let's really be honest here. Who out of us decides to go to the doctor just because and say, listen, will you just check everything out? Just
Never.
let me know what's going on in this body,
Yeah.
right? Who out of us decides to book an appointment with a psychiatrist or a psychologist and have an assessment? We don't do that. We normally only go to a doctor or a psychologist or a counsellor when there's something wrong and we're already past the point, we're already in that pit. Let's not do that this year. And or you could already know, I don't really go to bed on time. And sleep is so important. I do tend to struggle getting up. Anita, can you think of a few things for yourself?
Yes.
You,
To be honest, getting out more and getting more exercise at the moment. And there comes a time where I know I've got to do it instead of like,
yes,
fresh air is so
yes,
important. So that's one thing I need to start really adapting into my life on a regular basis, not just every now and again. So yeah.
perfect. So look, every one of you listening will have something. I could almost guarantee it. Something would from your gut, from your intuition, in your heart. You just kind of have a feeling, right? This is your spiritual you, by the way. Da, 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 right? Telling you this is how to bring magic into your life. Just listen to it. And then my invitation to you is pick something really small, so easy that there's a part of you that's saying, oh, no way, that can't possibly change your life in a fantastic way forever. Pick something so small and then decide to do it regularly this year.
Even going for a walk, it'll give me so much greater oxygen levels,
Yeah, yeah,
healthier. Yeah, being outdoors,
yeah.
it's fantastic. Yes.
Just going to say for you, Anita, and for everybody listening, by the way, we have this thing called the circadian rhythm. Now, it's a word that most people, or phrase that most people have heard, but what most people don't understand is if first thing in the morning you step outside, looking through the windows, by the way, it does not work because the window is there as a barrier between you and the rays of the sunshine and all the UVB, UVA, etc., etc., the science of it. But if you step outside for a minimum of 15 to 20 minutes every morning, and if you work from home like Anita does, or myself, maybe you'll decide that you're going to do one errand every morning first thing, or you're just going to walk around the block, right? What it does is it sends a direct message into your biology, into your psychology, into your brain to say, listen, it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up all the happy hormones and adjust. It's in the olden days, the most amazing clocks had to be tuned once a day. This is you tuning your body clock. And if you can't manage 10 to 15 minutes, then you start off small by saying, you know what, I'm just going to step outside into the back garden, walk to the back and back inside. That's 3 minutes. You know what? That will change your life if you do it regularly.
Definitely, definitely, yes. What are the opportunities and how can we gain the advantage in 2023?
Okay, so there's several opportunities. The very first one that I want to highlight for you is about your network, your tribe, your family. You're getting the theme here, right? It's about the groups or the people in your life. This year's energy, the rabbit in the water rabbit, is all about the people around you. So let's deep dive this really, really quickly. I want you to make a list of all the people in your life that you spend a lot of time with, or you call up when you need advice. In other words, they either have a lot of time in your life or they have importance in your priority list. Write them all down and look at what they bring to you. And, sometimes people would say that's a bit selfish. And I'd say, no, you're just doing an evaluation. It's harmless. It's actually helpful to be aware of what's going on in your life. It's more dangerous to be blind.
It's a self-audit.
Absolutely. And then I want you to think about two things, two important questions. Is there anybody you need to declutter? Now, if this is your mother, clearly you're not going to ring her up and say, Mother, I'm decluttering you. I will never phone you again. Don't call me. Right? I'm not talking about being silly here. But you might decide to think about these people that don't always bring you positive energy or bring you down or things like that, because these are ancestral habits. They don't always mean to hurt or harm you. They're not always aware of it. In fact, more often than not, they aren't aware of it. Just think about, maybe you're not going to go to that person when you're in a delicate stage, for example, or you're a little bit sensitive, etc. But they'll still be in your life. You'll be a bit more in control. The second question is, who's missing? Who's missing in your life? What do you really need, want, or desire in terms of a relationship? Is it that you're single and actually you really feel a little bit lonely, but you ignore it all the time? So it's time to get out there and meet someone of the gender that appeals to you, right? And remember, if you're going to do something like that, go to places, do things that you love. Don't just go there to meet someone. You want to meet someone who's into something that you're into, right? So you go to the things that you're into. Or maybe you need a mentor in your business. Maybe you need somebody new, a new type of role in your work. Maybe. So here's the different types of groups of people. There's team. And this is, by the way, not just in your professional life, in your personal life too. By that, I mean, who are your cheerleaders? Who are the people who give you the motivation and cheer you on when you need it? This is your team in your personal life. Partners professionally and personally, right? Mentors, these are people who offer you guidance, advice, talk things through with you to open up and expand your world. Supporters, generally, guides, clients. There's such a long list of types of people, right? So that's the first one. Second one, there's a huge opportunity for communication in this year, okay? To ramp up your quality of communication. Now, hold on a second here. Let's rewind that back. I don't know how it sounds. Quality of communication. Why is that even worthwhile? Look, let's be honest. It's the currency that we all use as human beings to interact with anything. Our environment, our pets, animals, other people in work, our clients, everything. But the most important one is it's how we interact with ourselves and we make meaning of anything and everything. It's so important. So you can see how this is really evergreen, yet we're talking about 2023. So the communication aspect is in the water of the water rabbit, which means this is a great year for anyone in communication, authors who are doing any sort of writing, copywriting, or maybe you're in your business and it's time to sit down and rewrite your business plan or re-communicate it, or speak to people in your organization to find out what their views are. Because by the way, whether you choose to do this consciously, it's going to happen unconsciously anyway. So the third one is probably the most important, but I wanted to talk about the other two first, because this third one you can use to shift the game completely in a game changer way for the other two. Okay. And that is, this is the year to grow your intuition. So this year, if you listen to and pay attention, nothing else that I've said today, because I've given you a lot, obviously, I want you to go out there and find ways to grow your personal intuition. Now, what the hell does that mean? And where is that to be found? Like, I can see some of you are thinking, yeah, I'm on board. But where the hell do I look for this Grow Your Intuition course? Well, unfortunately, they're not often called Grow Your Intuition courses, right? Growing your intuition is about understanding yourself better. It's about giving yourself time to go inwards to a degree, to a level that you've never done before. So it could be a course on compassion. It could be you decide to take a course in communication. It could be you decide to do meditation or learn to meditate in a different way at a deeper level. It could be that you decide to quite simply listen to your intuition, right? And I say that in that way, not because I think you're jelly bellies and silly billies and I think you're unintelligent, but I say it in that way because, you know, sometimes these things are so obvious we just don't see them because they're right in front of our noses, right? So what does that look like? It looks like you might keep yourself a journal and you get a feeling about something. There's a decision in front of you and all the logic says you go to A, but your feeling says, your gut says go to B. So you might decide to follow B. Then make a note of what happens. Make a note of what the hell did that feeling feel like? Was it a thought? Was it a sensation? Was it goosebumps? Was it that you kept getting signs out there on the whenever you switched on the radio or the TV or leaflets or something? Because that's how you're going to learn, right? And journaling, by the way, it is in itself a way to grow your intuition, right? Is Anita, do you do things like this? Tell just for the listeners, how would you say?
Yes, I journal weekly. Mine is a morning where I do all my admin and I do my journaling. That's part of it, and I do it weekly. It's so important. If anything is coming out or coming up for me, I will journal on that particular day. It's getting all the information out of my head. I don't need unnecessary things in my head when I can write it all down and get it out. So I've been journaling for years, Curly. It's part of my daily routine, part of my
Does
weekly
it
routine.
benefit you? For anyone
Absolutely.
wondering?
Absolutely. Otherwise, I'd be carrying all these things in my head. If there's anything I'm pondering over, I'll write it out into my journal. And it's there.
Okay,
Don't need to unnecessarily carry all this information in my head.
perfect. So there are scientific studies and experiments, guys, that have been done that show somebody who journals regularly or meditates regularly or does one of these intuition based practices, and there's many out there, none of them are more powerful than the other. It's about you finding the one that works best for you. And how do you know it's working best for you? You start to notice you feel better. You start to notice that you feel calmer. You can make decisions more easily. You feel more grounded. Your thinking seems to be clearer. All of these things. You know, journaling is quite simply a very safe space way of exploring things, ideas before you put them out into the world even, right? Or maybe somebody said something to you, you've had a conversation, you kept your mouth shut because it's an important relationship. Well, don't store it inside yourself and let it hurt your biology and psychology. Put it down on paper. Say all the things that you wanted to say to them on paper, safely, knowing there's no comeback or anything like that. But yeah, this year, I'm doing it too, by the way. Grow your intuition, test it out, play with it. You know, when a year comes about and it has opportunities, what it basically means is in that year, with that thing, if you play with it, it's a lot safer within the boundaries of that time span to play with it. Um, there's less bad stuff likely to happen because the flow is with you. If you're in a year that you're listening to this and it's not 2023, what I suggest you do is work with your intuition anyway, because you know, this is part of who you are. You wouldn't walk around the world ignoring your right arm and your right hand, would you? You wouldn't. It sounds silly. What a silly metaphor, Curly. But no, that's what sometimes we do with our intuition, because it can be scary. It can be a whole world that sometimes in some societies, especially in the Western world, we are taught to avoid and fear. But it's equivalent of walking around your world ignoring a part of your body like your right arm or your right hand. And by the way, I say that because most of us are right-handed. If you're left-handed, think about it being your left hand. It's crucial in your world, right? Well, intuition is a game changer in that, to that same degree. 2023. If you have a rooster in your energy chart, oh my god, you must already be off on such a roller coaster of opportunity. I am so excited for you. And by the way, each of us in our energy chart can have up to 6 of these Chinese animals. So if you want to look at yours, do contact me. But if you have a rooster, okay, it's very exciting. I want you to take a deep breath, ground yourself, work with your intuition, and jump onto that roller coaster wholeheartedly, knowing you are safe to do this year. And the very final thing I want to say about this is it's not really about time in some ways, but it is. So in the year of 2023, in terms of your physical space, in your home or your office, the south area, not direction, area. So if you put a compass over your house or your apartment or your office space, okay, office building, find where the south is and where the north is. These are going to be the two amazing hotspots for opportunity, you know, in every direction, whether it's to do with finances and wealth, which by the way, in 2023, you really need to look after your cash flow, whether it's in your personal life or your business, liquidity, just basically your access to cash is important. So don't tie it up in a way that you can't get to it should you need it. So with the south and the north, really, these are one of the two areas that you want to sit in to do your real important activities. So you don't need to go home today and go to the south and say to your wife or your husband, darling, you need to bring dinner to me here. Would you get me a commode as well, if you don't mind? And my pillow and my duvet. Curly Whirly said I need to sit in the south for opportunity. This is not what I'm saying. Okay, and I jest about it, but sometimes people try to do things like that. No, what I mean is for, you know, regularly, whether it's daily or weekly, just like Anita does her journaling once a week. Okay, so she's found the routine that works for her. Go and do some important, whether it's money generating activities, innovation activities, because that's really important in 2023 as well. Do those in the north or the south.
How do you yourself use this information, Curly?
Okay, so today I'm recording this, Anita, with you, sat in the north of my home, which, by the way, also my personal energy when I map it over my home, the north is important for me as well. So if you've ever done any work with me, pick north or south based on whether your personal energy power positions are there. If you haven't, pick one. I also, if I'm doing something important, an important event such as this, I pick a date that has a positive energy and the signature of that day fits with the signature or the type of activity I'm doing. But I work with this information powerfully. So I'm definitely growing my intuition this year. I'm doing courses, I'm learning with other people. I've made sure that cash flow is on my radar. I'm working to develop my spiritual signature, and learning about myself and how to communicate better is on my radar. And health and well-being is not only important for me for myself, but I'm focusing my work on that as well for other people, because that's where the clients will come from, guys.
That's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. So you have given us many tools, tips in this masterclass. What are the most important takeaways and actions to do right now, if possible?
Fantastic question. I would say your most important takeaway is going to be, having listened to this, which one of the things really got you excited or most interested or curious? That's your intuition. Go with that one and then pick one small thing that you can start doing right now today. And it might quite simply be, I don't know what action to take. I'm going to do some Googling, or I'm going to do this journaling thing and just write the question at the top of the paper. How do I grow my intuition? Where is my intuition? And just write without stopping for 20 minutes, set an alarm clock, and then see what came out, right? That's called stream of consciousness writing. But I would say that definitely use the north and south as well. But all of these tips will help you over the year massively.
That's brilliant, Kurly. Thank you for sharing your deep, insightful wisdom and knowledge with us today. Kurly Marwaha.
Thank you, Anita, for having me on. And thank you, everyone, for listening to me today.
It's our pleasure. And as we are Create the Courage to Be Fearless podcast, I asked my two signature questions, whether it's a masterclass or a interview. What is one of the most courageous things you have done? As we've already done an interview, you might want to choose something different this time.
It's kind of on the similar theme of what the interview was on, but probably one of the most courageous things that I'm doing in my life at the moment is having courageous conversations with people. What does that mean? It means I'm talking to people who I don't want to lose. I don't want them to treat me differently or anything like that, about things when they come up, of course, that maybe make me unhappy or didn't work for me, and learning the techniques and developing the muscle within me of saying things in a way that's way more than palatable, that's actually easy and easily receivable to them, to set boundaries or to negotiate things. And I honestly, I can't tell you, Anita, you guys listening, I'm on my knees sometimes trying to figure out how to have these conversations. But my God, when they're had, and the level of power that comes, and we become closer as a result, it's well worth doing.
I'm sure it sounds so exciting.
Oh, it is.
Fantastic. What is your definition of courage?
My definition of courage is in line with 2023. I think true courage, the most important courage, is when we have the courage to look inside ourselves, in our personal closet, psychologically, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and to go to those parts of ourselves that we want to reject ourselves, or be unkind to, or brush under the carpet or ignore. And this is another journey I'm on at the moment, and I would invite every single one of you to have the courage to really embrace who you are, because you're special.